Hi, welcome back with our movie explanation. Today, I'm going to explain a drama film with Stone. Spoilers ahead, watch out and take care. The film opens with a married couple. The name of the married couple are Madeline and Jack. They have a daughter who was 10 years old now. Jack seems to have no interest to keep his relationship with his wife good. Madeline doesn't like being with Jack anymore, so she goes to Jack and tells him that she wants a divorce from him. Jack loses it and starts yelling at her. He goes upstairs yelling in the same tone. He goes to their daughter's room and sees her asleep on the bed. He lifts her and threatens Madeline if she left him, he will throw the daughter out the window from the first floor. Madeline agrees to stay with Jack out of fear for her daughter's life. After a few years, we can see Madeline and Jack in the church now. They got old and their daughter is a grown-up woman, and she's a married woman now. In the next scene, Jack and Madeline are at their home. Jack gets a call from someone saying that his brother passed away. Jack and Madeline go to the funeral. In the funeral, Jack talks about his brother. He says some nice things about his brother. He says whatever he is today, it's because of his brother and he will love him forever. In the next scene, Jack goes to prison because he's a parole officer. Jack issues parole to the prisoners who have finished 70 to 80% of their prison time. He has the responsibility to determine if a prisoner is ready to go back into the society and if he's rehabilitated. He should feel that the person he's going to issue a parole will never commit any crime again. One day, the warden of the prison Jack works in calls him to his office. The name of the warden is Fisher. The warden tells Jack that he is about to retire, and now he can rest by passing all his cases to the new parole officer, who is a woman named Candace. Jack doesn't agree with the warden and tells him that he will finish his pending cases before retirement, so the warden finally agrees to Jack's condition. In the next scene, a prisoner who likes to call himself Stone comes to Jack for parole. He tells Jack that he will never commit a crime again once he gets released. He says that his wife has lined up a job for him, and he'll be happy doing the job and being with his wife and start a family of his own. Jack asks Stone about the crime Stone committed that led him to prison. Stone tells Jack that he doesn't want to revisit what he has done in the past. Jack starts being stubborn and talks to Stone in a way that would indicate he doesn't issue a parole to Stone. Stone realizes this and starts yelling at Jack, saying, "You would never issue a parole for me, and you would let me rot in prison until my prison time is over." And he goes to the door to leave the room. That's when Jack tells him if he left the room, he wouldn't get another shot at parole for at least 3 to 4 years. Stone takes a seat after hearing Jack say this. Stone talks about himself and about his wife. He says that his wife Lucetta loves him a lot. Stone also asks Jack how long it has been since he got married. Jack tells him it has been 40 years and we are still together. Stone wonders if love can still exist between the couple after this many years. Jack doesn't like where the conversation is heading, so he stops talking to Stone. In the next scene, we can see Jack going back to his house in the car. On his way home, he buys a bottle of whiskey from a local store. After this, he reaches home and sits on the porch with Madeline. They have a couple of drinks together. Madeline starts to talk about a lot of things, but Jack doesn't pay much attention. He is lost in his own world. The next day, Jack goes back to the prison. Stone tells him that he is now a changed man and is rehabilitated due to imprisonment. Jack asks questions to Stone. He asks, "Have you killed your grandparents with the help of your cousins, and what would you like to say about it?" Stone says he had no idea that his cousins were going to kill his grandparents. He also says that his cousins testified that Stone wasn't home when they killed their grandparents, and this is the reason he got less prison time. Jack says you should have stopped your cousins from doing something gruesome like that. After this, we can see Lucetta, Stone's wife. She's a teacher in an elementary school. She calls Jack to convince him to issue a parole for her husband, but when Lucetta called him, Madeline answers the call and says Jack is not at home. In the next scene, Jack talks to Stone. Stone gets angry at Jack and says, "Who are you to decide where I should be? You are free and you don't know what it's like being in prison." He asks Jack if he's a good man. Jack says, "I did not commit a crime unlike you." After this, Lucetta comes to prison to meet Stone. They were about to kiss, but the guard stops him from any physical contact. Stone tells Lucetta he won't be able to stay in prison for a few more years. He really wants to get out because it has already been 70 years since he came to prison. He also tells her that he will kill himself if he stayed in prison any longer. He asks Lucetta to convince Jack to issue a parole. While talking to his wife, Stone looks at a Bible and decides to believe in God. In the night, Lucetta tries to contact Jack again, but he can't be reached. Next morning, Lucetta meets Jack and gives him a nest, but he throws it away, and he tells Stone to tell his wife not to contact him again. Stone says to Jack that everyone has to pay for their sins. After this, he goes back home and he goes to church with Madeline. Jack has the guilt about making Madeline stay with him. He talks to the church pastor about it, and the pastor tells him to be patient. After this, Lucetta calls Jack. This time, she talks dirty to Jack and tries to seduce him on the phone. The next day, Lucetta goes to meet Stone. Stone tells her that he's seeing nightmares and he doesn't feel well. He says he feels like dying, and he starts to cry while saying all of this to his wife Lucetta. Now, Lucetta is thinking of getting her husband out in any way possible, so she meets Jack again in prison. This time around, Jack goes soft on Lucetta. He talks to her about his daughter's divorce and he doesn't know what to do anymore. Lucetta notices Jack has some problems with his back, so she invites him to her house to cure it with some magnets she has. When Jack went to her house, they start to get intimate and have Copa in her house. They start to have an affair. Jack warns Lucetta to keep it a secret. She agrees not to tell anybody about their affair. On the other side, Stone is put in solitary, and he witnesses a murder of a man while he's in solitary and gets scared to death by seeing a gruesome scene like that. The next day, Lucetta meets Stone and tells him Jack is looking into his files and he might get parole as soon as possible. She tells him to hang in there for a while. In the next scene, Jack and Stone meet again. He starts to talk like a man of religious beliefs. Jack tells him to cut the act. He tells him that people like him get released and come right back to prison for committing a crime which is much more violent than their past crimes. In the night, Jack asks Lucetta if everything is alright with Stone, and does he believe in all the religious things he is saying in the prison. The next day, they talk again. This time, Stone says he doesn't regret what he has done. He says he lit the house on fire after his cousins killed their grandparents, but now he is a changed man and will never commit a crime like that in his lifetime. Stone finally gets released in the constrictions of parole. After getting released, Stone tells Jack that he knows about Lucetta and his affair. After a few days, Stone burns down Jack's house. Madeline tells him to leave everything and let Stone go his way, but Jack doesn't listen to her. Jack goes to Stone to kill him, but he couldn't. After this, Jack retires from his job. On the other side, Lucetta and Stone be happy ever after. The film ends here. Subscribe for more videos like this, turn on notifications, and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to let me know how you feel about today's video in the comments down below. Stay safe and never forget, you are awesome.